sounds good. Good evening, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:31 for the Johnstown Management Committee meeting. May 21st, 2024 at a new council chamber. That being said, approval of the agenda. May I have a mover? Moved by Chris, sorry, moved by Mr. Ward, seconded by Mr. Martell, all in favor? Disclosure pertaining to interest and the general nature thereof. Is there any? Thank you. We're now going to number 4, closed session. Do we have a mover? Joe, do you have that, please?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that committee proceeds into closed session at 6:33 in order to address a matter pertaining to section 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically audit findings report and management letter and closed session meetings from February 20th, 2024.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor? Carried.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that the closed meeting of committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 7 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. We report at a closed session. Committing at the closed session to discuss the audit findings report and the management letter. And the committee, do we have you have the minutes, Mr. Smell?
I do.
Of the minutes of dated February 20th, 2024.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that the committee receives and approves the minutes of a closed session dated February 20, 2024.
All in favor? Carried. Move to adjourn. Moved by the mayor, seconded by Mr. Ward, all in favor, carried. We are now adjourned. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Hello, we're adjourned. We'll have to call order again.
I like
Late
that.
now.
I'll hit it.
Yeah. See you next month.
No, because you're back on, Jamie.
I don't know. I don't think he's done his job at this point.
So, for the closed session delegation, because, yeah, sorry. Well, we're now open.
Just start over.
Call this meeting to order again on Tuesday, May 21st at 7:03. We are now on number 6, delegations and presentation. And Jamie Poloff from MNP LLP will talk about our 2023 financial statement. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You know who I am. Hello, I'm Jamie Pollock from MNP. I'm a chartered professional and partner with MNP from the Cornwall office, and I'm happy to be here tonight to the draft financial statements. They are in draft for now until you as the committee or the council approve these financial statements as presented. If we turn to our independent auditors report, which is we have our third page in, it is addressed to the members of council, inhabitants, and ratepayers of the council of Edward's Cardinal. Now I'll just go through the first 2 paragraphs. As you can tell that the auditors report is quite lengthy, about 1.5 pages. We have audited the financial statements of the Port of Johnstown. The company, which comprised the statement of financial position as of December 31st, 2023, and of the statements of income and other comprehensive income, changes in equity and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statement, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In your opinion, the accounting financial statement presents fairly in all material respects the financial position of the company as of December 31st, 2023, and its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended according with International Financial Reporting Standards, or IFRS. It's a clean audit opinion. That's what you want to hear from us as your auditors. As we go through the statements, if there's any questions or comments, please stop me and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. It is dated, our auditor's report, May 21st. We're ready to sign this report once it's accepted by the committee. If we turn to page, it's dated, numbered as page 1, it's statement of financial position. It is at a particular point in time at December 31st, 2023, with comparison from December 31st, 2022. When you look at your current assets, total current assets, it's 16.6 million compared to 13.9 million, an increase of about 2.7 million, with most of that increase in the cash of 1.77 million, or a 2% increase. Short-term deposits is up by 200,000. The biggest increase is under trade receivables by 685,000, at 1.9 million compared to 1.3 million. Property, plant, and equipment, which is recorded for accounting purposes, net of accumulated amortization, it's 67.7 million compared to 66.4 million, an increase of 1.3 million in the year. The change in the year, you have purchases or reinvestment into your property, plant, and equipment of 2.9 million, less amortization expense of 1.6 million. So your total asset 2023 is 84.4 million compared to 80 million, the increase of $4.1 million. Under liabilities, paid and deferred revenue is 1.4 million compared to 1.2 million, an increase of 220,000, and most of that is just the amount of HST outstanding that had to be paid to the CRA. That's HST charging sale that to remit is the reason for the biggest increase. Total liabilities, mortgage payment was just over 2 million, a decrease of almost 100,000 from the previous year. Contributions is 28 million, down by 500,000. Shown liability technically is not a liability. What that means is the federal government has funded new funds that you had to use for capital purposes. You already spent that money. You can't repay that back, but you have an obligation to the federal government that those funds are used for property, plant, and equipment, and they get amortized or brought into income as you use those capital assets. So you don't have $28 million set aside and spent. You've already utilized those dollars. So when you look under equity, retained earnings, that's your accumulated surplus to date from since you purchased, took over the port to now, it's 52.8 million compared to 48.4 million. That's when you take all your assets, your non-capital, your property, plant, equipment, less the debt. So there's an increase in the year of just under 4.4 million for a 9% increase. From a business point of view, if you want to look at some key ratios like your working capital ratio, comparing capital asset to current liabilities, your working capital is 11.5 to 1, where last year was 11.4. You kind of have a small tweak increase, favorable for your working capital. Your debt to equity ratio, when you take your total debt, is 0.6 to 1. So every $1 retained earnings, you'll have 60 cents of debt. Last year it was 66 to 1. So you actually move that ratio favorable to you. That the amount of debt per retained earnings went from 66 cents to the dollar to 60 cents on the dollar. If you want to just exclude that deferred capital contributions, the debt equity ratio actually drops quite lower to about 39.39 cents on the dollar compared to 45 cents the previous year. If we turn to the second page, which is your statement of income and other comprehensive income, total revenues for the year, million compared to 10.6 million, an increase of almost 1.4 million or 13%. Most of the line items you had higher from the previous year. The only one that really dropped was your storage grain services. That was down by 515,000, but your drying charge revenue was up by 200,000. Your receiving revenue up by 600. Your delivering up by 300, and your fumigation was up by 91,000. Rental income was up by 83,000, and of course, with the change in the interest rates over the year, you had cash in the bank. It worked out quite favorable for you. So an increase in interest revenue at 689 compared to 261 from the previous year. Under expenses, total expenses for the year is 5.9 million compared to 4.9 million, so an increase of almost $1 million. And that increase is across the board. Salaries, wages, and benefits is at 2.9 million, or a 17% increase from last year. Administration fees is $1 million, which is charged by the township and paid to the township. That was higher by 207,000 or 26%. Utilities is up by 12%. And this is a lot to do with, of course, we know the cost of living and consumer price index has impacted all of us, and it's shown here at support to the utilities. Outside services, that is up by 9%. Insurance is up. Repairs and maintenance is up by 81,000, so almost double. But usually when you have a good year, like when some state, you have a good year, you tend to spend more on repairs and maintenance. Materials and supplies is up by 17,000 or 17%. Usually some years you sell excess grain that's owing to you as a profit, but sometimes you have to reimburse some of those grain handling losses. And 2023 just happened to be one of those years where you had to pay out some expenses of 155,000 compared to 97,000 the previous years. So, but overall, your expenses have gone up by 19%, and a lot of it, like I said, going through those percentages is across the board. Depreciation and amortization, the net amounts $1 million, up by almost 100,000 from the previous year. Is just the more you invest in your property, plant, and equipment, the more amortization expenses you're going to have. So your total operating income for the year just 4.9 million, just under 5 million compared to 4.6 million in the previous year. There was some loss on the investments, so you'll see a growth from one year to the other of income by $573,000 for a 13% increase. So you finished the year with just not under $5 million surplus. If we turn the page to the changes in equity, you look kind of on the right-hand side of the column. I guess you can start at the left or the right, it doesn't matter. So halfway through. For a closing balance of 52.8 million. So the net overall change is 4.4 million. When we look at the year that you had the previous year and in other years, we state that you had a very successful year, a very profitable year, and part of that income was distributed back to the shareholders. So your closing retained earnings of 52.8 million indicates that you're in strong. I won't go through really much of the remaining parts of the financial statement. There is the statement of cash flow. Overall, your cash increased by 1.7 million. And the main place where I tend to direct readers is under the operating activities. The second subtotal, your cash flow from operating for the year is 5.4 million compared to 6.5 million, with change in receivables being the reason for the decrease. But still, when you produce positive cash flows from operating, that means that you put you in a good spot to either pay down debt or invest your income, so the cash from operating activities is the key number, and it's positive again, just like the previous year. Just going through the notes to the financial statements, some key highlights, if you go to page 12, note 6 is your trade and other receivables. As indicated below, your receivables is at 1.9 million compared to 1.2. A little bit of sales tax receivable, which is your ITCs. And there's a little bit of allowance, which we always suggest that you have in place just for undoubtful accounts. So your closing trade receivables is 1.9 million compared to 1.3 million. If you turn the page, is your parking plan and equipment schedule. You know, it's a lot of numbers. I guess if you just focus on the left-hand side, we started the year halfway down on the left-hand side with a net book value of 79.5 million. Okay, well, that's your closing cost base. So go up with 3 lines up. You started your assets at 76 million. Costs, you had net additions of 3 million. And then there was a transfer of assets under construction of 3.5 million, and the 2 additions to the net disposal of 160. So your closing cost base is 79.5 million, with the majority on the equipment and at the marine terminal. The next part is the depreciation and impairment losses. This year's amortization is 1.5 million with a closing balance of 11 million. As I suggested last week, what we'd like to see as auditors, if you keep spending more in infrastructure and additions, like you see here for 2023 of 3 million, and is that always more than your amortization expense of 1.5? At least you're always reinvesting back into your assets and basically keep them, new, that you're always upgrading, you're not letting it get older, and not reinvest in your tangible capital assets. You always keep investing in that, so we're happy to see that. As hard. Note 8 just breaks down your investments, majority of that with GICs with the rates. Note 9 is trade and other payables. As I indicated, GST is one of the increases. And we talked about deferred capital contributions, note 11, starting year of 28.5, we recognized 500,000 of that income for 2023. And that's really all the highlights of the financial statements. I could spend all night going through them, but I don't think that's going to benefit anybody. So that is my highlights. If I wanted to say thank you to Code and Robert Daly for their cooperation during the audit, and week, and for cooperation during the audit. And as I did, we were able to issue a clean audit opinion, and the audit went well. And that is my report to the management committee members.
Thank you, Jamie. First of all, I'm going to go to Mr. Cameron. Good evening. Any questions, Mr. Cameron?
No, I have no questions. It's a very informative update. Thank you for that, Jamie, and happy to be here, everybody.
Good. Any other questions around the table? I'm just gonna, if anybody has anything. Frank, go ahead.
One comment and then one question. You started at page 3, actually on page 2, which starts off the members of council and habits and retailers. Paragraph 3 needs to be reworked because we are not directors and we are not a board. So to reflect accurately what the port management committee is, that probably needs to be reworked.
Okay, I can take that back and revise it accordingly. Okay.
The second is, it's note 1 actually, which references the fact that we're deemed to be a non-taxable entity not subject to income taxes. I'm familiar with tax laws that relates to charitable corporations, and if a charitable corporation is too often profitable, it ends up being subject to tax. Are we at any risk? We're very profitable. are we at any risk at any point in time of being deemed taxable?
Currently, no, and that's because the shareholder of the Port of Johnstown is the municipality, which is a tax exempt organization to start with, so unless the federal government or the finance department or the CRA change their rules, your entity is not taxed. Because of the ownership structure that is in place.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other questions by anybody? I just have one again, and in your professional, Jamie, we went through this last week, but I'd like to have it for the record, for your professional opinion, how would you describe the fiscal health of our Port of Johnstown?
I would state that your organization is in a very good financial position. Some of the key indicators, as we indicated, that you have a very strong working capital ratio. The rule of thumb is always at least 2 to 1. You're at 11.5 to 1. You have very little debt when you exclude the deferred capital contributions. That total is just 3.1 million. When you compare it to the retained earnings, you have very low debt to equity, which is good. You're very leverage, which is positive. And most of your assets besides your property, plant, and equipment is in, cash, short-term deposits, and not a lot, in riskier investments, that it's in safe custody at, proper financial institutions. So looking at your statement of financial position, you're very strong. And then again, with your net income for the year, the last 2 years, you posted profits of excess of 4.3 million, which is used for your reinvestment into your infrastructure. So you are in very good financial shape.
Thank you.
With those indicators.
Glad to hear it. Any other questions? Okay, we do have a recommendation that the Port Management Committee receives, reviews, and approves the audit report on the Port of Johnstown financial statement as provided by MNP and LLP for chartered accountants. And that the Port Management Committee recommends that council receives, approves the 2023 Port of Johnstown financial statement as provided by MNP LLP chartered accountants. I have a mover. Moved by Mr. Ward. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, sorry.
To the chair, a couple of us, that isn't going to take place, the actual recommendation, until the action information items under 10. This is just the delegation here.
Okay, so I'll have to wait till 10. Very good. Thank you.
Try to speed it up.
Doing my best. Get out of here. Thank you.
I think it's efficient.
Totally. Thank you very much again, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
The full cooperation from your management team. Enjoy working with them and enjoy working with them next year and meeting tonight.
Good. Good to hear it. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Myself.
Thanks very much, Jamie, for the last couple of weeks. Appreciate it. Thank you, staff, for your job done.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
This might just 1 second. I know it's something in camera, but I just want to give this lady accolade for doing a great job with the accountants this year. I know it was frustrating, Rhonda, but you did a good job. You're pretty much on your own. I'm there to try to help you, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a second delegate? Is he here?
Yes,
Yes, no.
7:30.
You're recording and that's coming.
So everybody else.
Yeah, 5 minutes. They're not gonna be ready.
The lawsuits.
Can I call 5 minute recess? You can do whatever you want. I'm going to call. Do a motion. I need a motion.
Chair, I'll move a motion for a 5 minute.
5 minute recess moved by Mayor and seconded by Mr. Ward. All in favor? Carry 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming through the door. Right. Zoom this meeting at 7:32. Our next delegation is Logistech, and are you gonna?
Much, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So I'm very happy that we have the pleasure of hosting Logistech. We have President Rodney Corrigan here with us tonight. We have Frank Montecalvo and Jonathan Bordage. I think recently just were voted the best managed company again for 2023. Second year in a row. Congratulations. I'm not still under any.
As much.
I'm a very humble guy. I wouldn't even have mentioned it. Thanks for bringing it up. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here. So I guess it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago that we did a similar type of presentation here, and is it 6? Oh,
7.
7. Wow.
7.
Wow, time flies when you're living in your basement. You know, I'm from a small town in Quebec, and just outside of Quebec City, 3,000 people, and I mean, I come down to the port fairly regularly, but I don't get up this way that often, and it was uncanny how much it reminded me of home driving in here, you know, small main streets and then the ball field. It's incredible. Anyhow, so Logistech, we started, or we were founded in 1952 in Three Rivers, Quebec. The founding family owned the business until about 4 months ago. We started off, like I said, in 12 the Island, Three Rivers, went to Quebec City, ended up in Montreal, ended up growing the business. We're Canadian based, and today probably more of our business is done outside of Quebec, meaning Atlantic Canada, Ontario, a little bit of British Columbia, and then down in the United States. And we went on to the stock exchange in 1969. When the founders started the company, one of his investors, that was the promise he made in order to get the cash to get started. So we went on to TSX in 69. And the family controlled the company until January 8th of this year, when the founders' 3 daughters decided that they wanted to retire and do different things. So we're now owned by 2 private equities out of New York. The principal owner is a company called Blue Wolf. They invest primarily in pharmaceutical, a little bit of hospital, and things of that nature, and then they own quite a few lumber mills in New Brunswick and then down in Arkansas and some other places. And then the preferred partner is a company called Stone Peak, also out of New York, who are very much in the transportation space, so like chassis for containers in the United States, refrigerator warehouses and things of that nature. So big outfit. They manage just over 60 billion US in assets. So for us as a company, you know, when you think of Canada and the US, everything's like times 10 at least, right? When you go south of the border. So, for us being basically a family-owned company, traded on the TSX. For small companies on the stock exchange, we have a tendency to be undervalued. So this is like a really positive step for us in order to be able to go forward with our growth strategy and move the company forward. So we're really excited about what the future holds for us. So when you think about what we're about, and I'm not going to read things word for word, for us, everything is really about the communities where we work, trying to be involved. To be a provider of choice, to be safe, to be sustainable, and to find creative solutions in our space, in the marine and the environmental sector.
when we talk about sustainability, given our organization, everyone automatically thinks that I'm talking about the environment. So Logistec Corporation is really two companies inside of one. We have a marine section, which is the terminals, the ships, and the agency. So the agency is, it's kind of like a concierge service for the ships when they come in. If the captain needs food for the crew, or they need to order fuel, or whatever the case may be, we have a division that just does that. And then we have the environmental section. So we do site remediation. So clean up soil, that kind of stuff. We do trenchless water main repair. So when you need to fix your water pipes here in town, most people, in most communities, it's civil work, right? You dig up the street, change the pipe. Well, we can dig a hole outside the front door here and pop up like 2,000 feet away, and then basically run a sleeve through the existing pipe that might be broken or crushed. We then flood that pipe with water. It expands inside the existing pipe, drain the water, cut it open, and you have a new pipe inside the pipe. And we're doing that, we do a lot of that in Montreal, in Toronto, and then down in the US Midwest. So that's become really big business for us. So we have both parts. So when we talk about sustainability, everyone thinks we referring to the environment, which we are, but we're also referring to the fact that we have a long-term vision. We, everywhere that we work, we try to get involved long-term. We don't go in to try and make a quick buck. We, like every other company, we're trying to make money. I'm not gonna lie about that, but it's about long-term plan, long-term vision. Same thing for our employees. That's why we spend so much money on training and health and safety and things of that nature. So just quickly, you know, the company's been around for 72 years. We work in 60 ports in North America. We have 90 terminals, Canada, US. We handle about 4,400 ships a year. We have over 3,900 employees, and we handle roughly 52 million metric tons of cargo every year. On the screen now, you just see our network. So we're very heavily focused on the St. Lawrence River, the Seaway, the Great Lakes, down the US East Coast. The Gulf area has become very big for us. Texas is a market that we're very prominent in. And then we've also got our Arctic business. So in the Arctic, we also manage some terminals, basically for mining companies. But we also own 6 ships in partnership with a company called Splitoff. And I'm sure over the years, their ships have been into the port here. They're the ships that end with GRACHT, G-R-A-C-H-T. So that's our partner. So what we do is we do resupply to the villages in the north. So we go to 50 different villages. We work for the different mines up there. So everything that they need for the year, it gets marshaled into one port on the St. Lawrence River. And then we basically load containers or loaded break bulk. And the containers are generally 10 footers. It's a special plastic container that we developed, because a lot of these communities don't have any ports. So every ship goes up with a barge, with a tug, which we put into the water, and then you beach everything. So I don't know if it's on CBC, but there's a show called Arctic Haulers. So if you watch that show, unfortunately, it's our competitors, it's not us, but it's basically the same investment. So it'll give you an idea of how that works. So specifically for the terminal operations and the things that we do that are more relative to what happens here in Johnstown, is that we handle, like I said, 50 million tons of cargo. We do bulk, we do break bulk, we do containers, and we do port logistics. So on the bulk side, you guys are all familiar with the road salt that comes into Johnstown here. We do aggregate. We work very closely with our customers to do a made-to-measure efficient bulk handling process. So, you know, we might have 3 or 4 different customers doing road salt, and you know, intuitively you think road salt is road salt, but every one of them wants something done a little bit differently, either about the way you manage the inventory, how you load the trucks, et cetera, et cetera. So our team works on doing that. On the break bulk side, which is something we've started to do a lot more of here in Johnstown over the last couple of years, So that's basically, you know, steel, lumber, aluminum. And what you find coming into this market is specifically steel and some wind cargo. And that by far is the biggest part of our business. It probably represents about 57% of our total revenue for the entire network. So that's where we offer our customers, you know, real-time inventory, you know, specialized equipment. We do a lot of training for our staff. We'll order rail cars for them. We basically put together a end-to-end supply chain solution for our customers. The containers, in Montreal, we have 2 container terminals. So you might see every now and again, those mustard colored containers with MSC written on them. So that's a company out of Switzerland. They're our partners. We own Termont with them. It's 2 terminals in Montreal. We handle about the equivalent, I'm going to say 800,000 20-foot containers per year. That's what we handle for them. Then we have a container terminal in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, where we work for Kruger Paper. And then down in the south, in Florida and in Texas, we got a couple of pockets where we do a little bit of container, but Montreal is our main focus on that. And then there's the port logistics piece, which is basically off-dock warehousing, intermodal container stuffing, anything that's value add to the customer, first mile, last mile. So we're doing all of that as well. And then we have Logistec Direct. So in, I guess it's a little over a year ago, we bought Federal Marine Terminal, which was a division of FedNav. You may have seen their ports, their ships in your port. It's the Federal something. So we bought their terminal group, which was 11 terminals, and it came with a company called FedNav Direct, which we rebranded as Logistec Direct. So we're basically doing distribution for steel customers that come in on those ships. That is a business that we're trying to grow and do more of across our network. Here it just shows you the different types of cargoes we handle by commodity grouping. So you got the break bulk, which is basically something that isn't free flowing. That's anything that you got to move with a forklift or doesn't roll away from you. Basically break bulk. Then you have all the different bulk cargoes that we handle. Iron ore is probably our biggest one. Last year we probably handled 30 million tons of bulk, give or take. And roughly, I'd say 2/3 of that was iron ore, which is very big for the steel making. And then you can see here just a snapshot of some of the customers that we have a long-standing relationship with, the port authorities and the communities where we work, like yourselves, as well as the railway. The thing that's nice with our company is the majority of the customers we have all been customers long-standing. You know, the average tenure of our top 20 customers across our network is in excess of 15 years. So once we get a customer, we tend to hang on to them and not lose them. And then this slide just kind of shows what's going on here in Johnstown. So we have the bulk business, which is the road salt for the big 3. Plus we have some business for Lafarge. On the break bulk, you know, we do the steel beams, we do some pipes. We're also doing steel rails, and you see some of the customers there, their logos. And then on the project cargo, which is really wind, we've been able to do a couple of projects through here. I think Nation Rise was the last one that we did. And then commodities handled. You want to start us off here, Monty, and talk about the break bulk opportunities?
Absolutely. So
Switch all from the screen.
no, that's so I'll speak to the break bulk opportunities that we see that we're working on. My colleague Joel will speak to on the bulk side of things. But it is a great time to be here and to speak to the different break bulk commodities, ironically, that we're going to see here in the next week or so. In fact, at the end of this week, we have 3 Enercon wind turbine blades that are coming into the port. And Rodney had mentioned earlier about the Nation Rise project that we handled back in 2019, and that was equivalent to 29 turbines. And that was a fantastic project. I think it was executed extremely well. You know, both, you know, Entercon, the customer, with the board, working with Robert. Again, everything went flawless and, for the exception of bats, because the project did get on hold. But it was a good opportunity, obviously, with the storage that was available that the.
We didn't mind the story.
Yeah, we didn't mind the story, yeah. So that was a good story. That was a good story. So these blades that are coming in are replacement blades. And we're likely to see this as an ongoing business. Obviously, there's a certain life expectation, whether it's a blade or a nacelle or a hub, any of the you know, mechanical, say, features of the wind turbine that do need to be replaced over time. So again, it's very fitting to be here today and to speak of the upcoming business that we were able to secure. Obviously that. Following that, we do have a shipment of pipes that are coming in with Tenaris. We've had some great success with Tenaris over the last couple of years. Obviously, you know, things have kind of changed in terms of how the market is, in terms of, you know, availability of pipe in the markets that they serve. So there's certainly ebbs and flows in terms of volumes that we see. We've had some real stellar years, and you know, this year we're off to a slow start, but it's a sign that there is pipe coming. So we're very happy to secure that first parcel of pipe coming into the port, which it looks like it will be early next week. And following that, we were able to secure a new customer, and that being British Steel. Similar to, say, an ArcelorMittal, British Steel is very specialized in structural beams. So we do have a secured parcel of steel of 3,400 metric tons that's coming in June. So that's also very a new customer of ours, and we're hoping to gain a lot of momentum on that. So so a bit of a slow start, but we do see that across our network. But you know, we're hoping for some stability here in terms of how the market is going to show us opportunities. We're out there knocking on doors. You know, Roddy in the past has mentioned, you know, our secret sauce is our network. And I'm a true believer in that, because we have so many different touch points and so many different customers that we're able to show to our you know, new clients that there is opportunity here, perhaps you know, a cargo into Johnstown or for whatever that might be. It certainly brings a lot of opportunity having such a wide range in terms of our network. So I think, Joe, if you'd like to maybe speak to a little bit.
Yep, for the bulk opportunities. The bulk opportunities, obviously, the turnaround time is much longer. We have, or we are in discussions with the G6 Agrani, which their project seems to be advancing slowly. So after that, we're trying to facilitate the regional fertilizer distribution. So we're talking to all our customers that we handle elsewhere, and we're trying to get them to come here for their local markets. Up to now, it's not an instant success because the volume itself is not as big as other ports, but we are starting to gain traction. So they are listening, they are interested. We don't have any commitments yet, but we're talking to them. We're, I don't know what the statistics is of when you mention to a customer how many times to come to a port, it's like 6 or 7. When they actually say, oh, yeah, it's a pretty good idea. And you're like, we've had that conversation. So it's a work in progress. We think the fertilizer has a potential in the upcoming future. The cement market in Ontario is called to grow. There's lots of imports, especially in big bags. There has been inquiries. We're trying to make it work. They need inside storage. We're trying to make the numbers work, but we're always in discussions, and it's always long-term projects. So we are trying on that front too. And the analysis to consolidate cargo at Rideau. So we're trying to see on the other side of the street, if we add pavement, can we add throughput at the port itself for salt? So last 5 years, we've handled 2.7 million tons of salt coming through the terminal, approximately. We've handled aggregate as well, so combined, it's about 2.8 million tons of bulk in the last 5 years. So there has been movement, and we're constantly, continually trying to get some other products to come. Those are the main projects coming in on the bulk.
Just to clarify on something, Joe was saying, he mentioned that bulk is a little slower. So what he's referring to in that case is the sales cycle. So when we have a customer that's bringing steel, they'll book like British Steel, for example, so that'll come out of the UK. They've sold their steel. It could be going to receivers that are in the Ottawa area. There could be some out west that are going to use CN, and they'll rail it. So we're able to put together a package using Johnstown, and that's a sales cycle that can happen very quickly. Whereas with a bulk customer, you might be at it for over a year before you can convince them to change their mousetrap and then try to use a different port of entry. So it's a much longer sales process than handling general cargo. You want to speak for this slide?
Yeah, sure, if you like. So, let me just get my pages here, so I'm not looking to the right. Respectfully here. Second. Right. So there's different initiatives that we have that are fairly consistent within our marketing strategy. And that is to be out and to really wave our flag. And there's different conferences that we do attend on the break bulk side. The PDAC conference, which is normally in Toronto, that is more focused on mines. The International Dry Bulk Conference, the Tampa Steel Conference. Again, I believe it's this week that we're out at the break bulk in Rotterdam. So we are, we do have a certain level of effort that we're trying to go out and be present. And again, to showcase Logistec and to look at new opportunities to ensure that if opportunities are out there, people know of Logistec. The different marketing tools, again, we have brochures that are readily available. When our sales team are out knocking on doors, we're trying to make sure that we're leaving something behind. Text sheets that I think is on the next slide that speaks to on our internet. When you go to the Logistec terminals, it showcases all of our terminals, but if you click on, say, on the Port of Johnstown, again, we'll show you something here shortly, is that it does give you the real base information. It speaks to the facility itself in terms of dock space, wharfage, laydown area, and if there's any type of storage, let's say. Web and social media, we have a dedicated team, our communication team that tries to, to share different highlights of the company. As you can imagine, having 60 some odd terminals, it's hard to ensure that each one of those ports do get attention. So our communication team, they do certainly make an effort in trying to ensure that that everybody gets an opportunity to be showcased on LinkedIn, let's say, as one of the social media platforms that we use. Different press releases, public relations, again, having a dedicated team ensures that we're communicating with communities, with our partners, in different methods of ensuring that we get the messaging out. As I mentioned earlier about the text sheet, so again, going on to the Logistec website, we'll list all of the different ports in which we operate in the inland terminals. By going on to the Port of Johnstown, again, we'll give you a snapshot of showing just the real 30,000-foot view of the port, but also contacts and the availability of, say, different equipment that would be available. One team for you. So, one of the things that that Rodney, some years ago said is that we need to demolish the silos that we have. And and really the silos that he was speaking to is operations and our commercial team. You know, prior to Rodney really taking the helm as president of the company, we did have these silos present, and we weren't really working together, let's say. But Rodney has managed to break down those silos and really create a cohesive team, that being our commercial and our operations team working together to achieve one goal. So we're there, working together hand in hand. We're sharing information as best as we can, and we're out together knocking on doors. Just because, you know, Joe is on the commercial side and I'm on the ops side, that doesn't mean that, you know, that we're covering, let's say on my side, you know, we're out there knocking on doors too. So we just want to make sure that all the opportunities that are out there, that, you know, there's a chance for us to be successful.
And I think too, you know, when we refer to the one team, it's also working with Robert and his group to make sure that, you know, everything that we do and what we're trying to pitch in the market to customers is aligned to what you guys want for your port facility. Because if we're not aligned, then, you know, we're wasting your time, wasting hours, and the customer won't get what they want at the end of the day. And when we go to market, you know, I'll use like the Marine Club as an example in Toronto. Not only do we highlight the ports where we work, so you know, and the Marine Club is a lakes event, so we'll talk about Johnstown, Toronto, because we're in Toronto, Cleveland on the US side. So we're to name a few. So we're talking about the ports, but we're also talking about a gateway. We're talking about an area through which we can bring cargo. And the nice thing about Johnstown is the CN rail connectivity, which we're trying to push more and more. As an example, with the Tenaris pipe, I guess it's 2 years ago now, a year and a half, when we had the 3 or 4 big ships. And to Monty's point about the network and the customers, when I think of the overall network and all the customers we deal with, Tenaris is the second biggest customer we have at Logistec across the whole board. So when we go to them and we say, hey, we have an opportunity, I know you have cargo coming, we'd like you to consider Johnstown, we're gonna we'll unload your cargo and move it by rail, they automatically will sit down and entertain the possibility just because of the working relationship that we have with them. And then just last slide we have here, you know, long-term partnership. You know, all of the employees are like 95% of who work for us are all local. I checked with accounting this morning because I was curious, because I should know this, but I didn't. We deal with about a dozen or so local businesses in the area, whether it's welding, you know, miscellaneous parts, stuff for our equipment. So we really do try to buy local where we work, and I'm actually very happy that the team is doing that here. You know, Monty, Frank talked about the strong synergies between operations and sales. You know, when you watch a sporting event and, you know, one of the coaches, whether he's on the winning or the losing side, doesn't come out and talk about how the offense did really well or the defense did poorly. It's always a team approach, right? You know, normally this is where I make a Toronto Maple Leaf joke, but I'm not sure. I'm from Montreal, so I'm not allowed to make any jokes.
Unless you got tickets for the games in Montreal, go ahead.
But I really do believe it's about one group, one team working together to achieve one goal. And that for us is our group being aligned, we tore down those silos, but then it's also working with the port and working with your team. So that we're getting things done. And then, you know, the last thing that I'd like to mention, and we've gotten really into this in the last couple of years, is normally companies in our business will unload the ship, put it on the ground, and then wait for the customer to come and pick it up. Well, it's a lot easier to get the customer to use your facility when you're able to help them take it that last mile. So, you know, that's what we've been able to do with Tenaris. That's what we market with some of the steel customers that we have here and throughout our network. So having that kind of turnkey solution for them is really instrumental in getting the cargo into the gateway. And, that's it. That is it. So that's who we are in a nutshell. Thank you for your time, for listening. And if there's any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Ward, if you have anything.
Sure, well, you know, it's funny, it shows, that you guys have a lot of skill and expertise in presentation, because I took notes and had questions along the way, and you seem to have answered them all anyways, but I mean, I'm glad to hear, I guess, instead of making it a question, and, you know, not to divulge details here, you know, for various good reasons and all, that you're working with Robert and the team to make sure that, because I think we're trying to, probably, at least, you know, my perspective, I think this council from this perspective is, you know, really trying to see if we can help grow and diversify the community, you know, we'd like to see nice, clear ROIs, for instance, and things like that, but I think we, you know, it sounds like we've seen some good stuff coming out of you guys, we really appreciate that for sure, I really do, for sure. And then, you know, I'm glad you're mentioning, you know, we talk about marketing, we try and market the township in various ways, and business is one thing, obviously, as well, and, you know, it's a jump to the major highways, it's a key link between, I mean, you know, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, essentially, and we have the US border and the rail, so I'm glad you're mentioning all that, because I think it's important for us to get that exposure, and then, you know, we struggle, we try to get exposure as well from the port and from the township, so glad that we have a partner in that as well, and you're working on it. So like I said, I turned them into statements instead of questions, because you answered them as you were talking, and which is great, so appreciate that, so thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna hit the camera.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna forget him. I will. Mr. Cameron, sorry, got any questions?
Hi, guys. Sorry, the slide deck didn't roll through on Zoom, so I would ask that it's available at some point in time to maybe transfer over to me. I could only hear parts of the conversation, so I'm not sure if I caught it all, but it's a very impressive company, and it's a great strategic partner for the port. So that's a very positive thing. And I'd like to thank the gentleman who gave the presentation. A lot of good history.
Thanks, Clint. Okay, go
I
ahead.
don't have a lot to add, just, thanks Joe and Frank and Rodney, you know, for taking the time to come tonight to make a presentation, you know, I think, Clint sort of hit it on the head when he said strategic partner, you know, and I know moving forward with the team at the port, we look forward to, you know, more and more diversification and development. So thanks for coming tonight, and I look forward to a long-term relationship.
Okay, Joe.
Nothing fantastic. Informative.
So would it matter what kind of pipe is under the ground? Like, I'm talking sewer pipe, like, old barnacle clay pipe, cast iron and that. Can you reline them too?
No, we don't do, sewer. We
Okay.
only do drinking water. But if that's something you needed, I could refer you to the gentleman who runs that division for us, and he probably knows who you could talk to just to get that done.
Does that save a lot of money? You don't have to dig up a place.
Yeah, we, our concentration in Montreal and then in Toronto, we have a company called Ferpal. It's 100% drinking water. We don't touch the sewer water.
Okay. I got another question for you. I see the salt every day I go by it. So I'm a little confused. Do you own Rideau Bulk as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not confused. I'd just like to know why you didn't bring the Rideau Bulk manager here tonight.
Janice is on,
Yeah.
away on vacation.
Oh, I thought it was Vince Wilson.
No, Vince works for Janice.
You actually know? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't believe they knew you, but okay.
And I know Vince, I actually transferred him here from Sydney.
Oh, did you?
so-
Okay.
You didn't have a choice on that.
Great guy, good
Yeah,
work.
good guy.
He's a good employee.
Keep
Thank you
taking
very
the
much.
fall.
Pardon?
What's that? Keep going.
No, I'm good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Good.
You're welcome, sir.
Eugene?
Thank you so much for your presentation. Coming from Montreal too, so it's nice to
to get to know you more here in Johnstown.
Well, thank you.
Frank,
Hamilton Oshawa announced today a partnership with the port directly across Lake Ontario. It's a former coal site, coal-powered generating station. And I assume it will be a roll-on, roll-off ship that will leave Oshawa, trying to avoid traffic going around the Golden Horseshoe. All to be worked out. Point being, is there a potential for roll-on, roll-off from our port? We're the first port, if you like, past the lock. And if you thought about getting trucks off the highway to Western New York, which is what these guys will be doing out of Oshawa, is there potential for us for roll-on, roll-off?
For the GM vehicles, possibly.
Yeah, you know, that was an announcement that was just
Yeah.
recently made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read that article. Yeah, it's hard to really understand what the project may be, if it isn't going to be, say, a roll-on, roll-off type of operation. In terms of, you know, seeing here at the Port of Johnstown, if there's opportunity, to be quite transparent, that's something that's really never been explored. You know, but it's something that, you know, something that we could certainly add to the list, but to answer your question, unfortunately, it's just something that we haven't really looked at.
No, fair enough. And then there's not a lot of it done, I know,
Yeah,
in Ontario around the Great Lakes. But again, just to get trucks off the road, we have some potential.
yeah, it's, you know, it is a costly adventure, you know, when you look at, you know, barging, it comes down to capacity, and if you're moving vehicles, you'd have to, you know, be able to move a significant amount of vehicles. In fact, something that just is going to start is actually moving passengers out of that area, the St. Catharines, Port Weller area into Toronto. Now, if you go back 20 years ago, they had hovercrafts that were doing that, and that failed miserably. So between that time and now, there's probably been about 3 to 4 different operators that have tried this business model, and unfortunately hasn't been successful. So as far as moving vehicles, it's a tough shot.
Fair enough, thank you, Bill. And thanks for the presentation.
There's several things that work against that. The first one is, you know, in Canada, there's just not enough of those marine assets to move product around. You know, everyone, when you think barging, you think what you see on the Mississippi River, right? So instinctively, we think we don't have that in Canada. We do. It's just CSL and Algoma. It's a different type of ship, and it's not a ship that's conducive to moving product like automobiles. And, you know, last year, HOPA was trying to move vehicles out of Oshawa to go to Buffalo. And that couldn't get off the ground, and the automobiles were produced like a 9-iron shot from the dock, right, at a GM facility. So once you factor in the inlands to get the auto here, and then get it onto a barge, and then to destination, it'll become a challenge from a cost point of view. But definitely something to look at, and, you know, and if it's not an automobile, it might be another product that's produced locally. You know, I've always felt that, you know, with the amount of aggregate that comes out of the area, why is that not moving on a barge directly to downtown Toronto? Right? There's an example of something that probably should see more of.
But I'm also thinking, I was in Liverpool last week, so I was watching roll-on, roll-off
Yep.
ships come into the
Yep.
harbor across the Mersey. And in that instance, it's transport trucks. That's what's on the roll-on,
Yep,
roll-off, so that you're actually taking those off the highway.
We looked at a project a couple of years ago. It's not Johnstown related, but it was to move, to do something similar, let's say from, Corner Brook, and bring them into northern New Brunswick. So you basically bypass that whole drive through Nova Scotia and up through New Brunswick. We couldn't make the numbers work.
Thank you,
It's a challenge.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Stead?
First of all, that was very good for me, really informative. Just if you think about the Port of Johnstown, is there something that we don't have facility wise or infrastructure wise that would help attract from your world more business, or Something that we can.
I think Joe.
Yeah.
I heard Bill.
Before I start,
Yeah.
along the St. Lawrence, the Great Lakes, in the last couple of years, there has been missing inside storage area. The only problem with it is that when we build the business case to bring the customer has to pay for the shed, right? The old, build it and they will come. People tend to shy away from that. They want a contract, they want returns, and they'll say, okay, we'll build it, but we know what we're gonna get for the next 10, 20 years. Because infrastructure cost has gone up significantly in the past. So today is much more expensive to build a shed that was already built like 20 years ago. The cost is less. So right now, we're pitching to customers, we're trying to attract them, we're saying, bring your cargo, build a shed, but you have to build it in 5 years. So for the customer, the numbers don't work, or they're very difficult to add up. We think we could group a couple of customers maybe, but then it's always difficult to do that because every customer like to have their secret, their secret sauce, and they don't always want to share it. So the short answer, I'm sorry if it's long, but the short answer is, if there was a shed, there would be more possibility to get more credit. Definitely. How do we do the business model? How to make the numbers work? That is the exercise we're doing on a daily, weekly basis. So, I'm sorry I took too long to answer your question.
We should get some background.
The answer is yes.
You could just said that.
I could, I'm sorry.
Maybe something that we can look at together going forward, from a strategic partner point of view. Is in our old life as a publicly traded company, we did things a certain way, right? Comply with TSX, et cetera, et cetera. Not that it's not passing judgment on it, I'm just saying it was a fact. Today, now that we're a private company, we have a renewed focus on how we approach government relations. So when you start to think of the amount of money that's available publicly, right, whether it's national National Trade Corridor Fund, security funds, we go at it from a public or a private company. You're competing against the big boys to get money, right? The big projects with CN and others. But if we do it in partnership, maybe we have an opportunity to get more money, or at least get some. And that is money then that can go to work in the building. Maybe it's port security, maybe it's lighting, maybe it's something else, who knows, right? But I think that's, as we go forward, maybe something that we can work on together and quickly launch a couple initiatives that are a win-win for both the community, the port, and for ourselves as the operator.
Well, thank you, Frank, Joe, Rodney. It was great. We talked before. I mean, what we want, what I want, I mean, what I want, what you guys want, and I'm glad you said it, Rodney. We're both in the same. We want to make a profit. We want to do business. So that is great. Under the I had a few questions. One was your 2024 Canada Best Managed Company. Robert stole that from me, but that's okay. For the second year in a row. And it's good for us because we had I think you're coming up for renewal on our, and this committee will be doing the contract for the stevedore, because you're the only one in our port. So with that being said, and the presentation, it's going to make it a lot easier for us for renewals for sure. So, and one of the questions, Joe, is like I had down there too, with a building covered storage help bring in business, and obviously it would. That's something I think this committee has to really look at and come up with something, of help that being built, so you guys can bring in business for us. So that being said, you know, like I said, I can't thank you enough for being here and I know you're working hard. And, hopefully we can continue the relationship that we have. And make your business grow and our business grow. So thanks again. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is that okay?
I need a move.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
You guys.
Yeah, we're gonna get a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise. we're-
Okay, you know, move. They were taking 5 minutes. Move. Second, but.
Second by Chris.
Second. Okay, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Where are we on? Over again. You can stay sitting. Chris, stay sitting. Stay sitting? Yeah.
We'll resume this meeting again at 8:21 PM to. One second, do I have a mover and a second on that? Moved by Mayor and seconded by Mr. Smell, all in favor? Yeah. Carried. This is arising from the previous Port Management Committee minutes, if any. Okay. Discussion items, number 9, none, and 10, action information items, first report is 10A, train operation report.
Yes, sir, thank you.
You're welcome.
Inventory for the end of April was 66,784 metric tons. Wheat shipments continue to be lagging, mostly due to the lower strip, the line in Quebec. And we still are bringing in some soybean. Most of it's just being brought in for storage or storage seems to be coming up with this. The market is very soft, but traffic for April, we received 1,681 metric tons of via truck. We shipped 12,314 back out via truck, and we actually shipped 10,114 on a vessel and 0 by rail. And we were open April 1st, the 13th, and the 14th for customers. No recordables. We've had a clean year so far for injury. Labor report. 2,289 hours previous month versus the previous year of 2,562. And we're still riding the AAA rating on the quality report. We just had another inspection in May. That's it. Operations report.
Excuse me, Mr. Moulton, on that corn, we went from 28,000 in 2023 to 51. Is that because we had a ship come in? It dropped off?
We
Pardon?
shipped soybean on that truck,
Okay.
on the vessels, right?
Right. So why is the corn up? Is there any, like from 28,000 last year to 51 this year? Same year. Is there any?
Well, last year we shipped 2 corn vessels out.
Oh,
This year, the market's flat.
Okay.
There's no sales.
Yeah.
There's
So
still
that's
bringing in.
why.
They'd already purchased a corn, last year's contracts,
mm-hmm.
and there's just nowhere to put it,
No,
except for us.
no, good. Yeah, okay. I just wondered the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Good, thanks. Maintenance report, or you're on the recorder incident injuries too, you gonna do that next or?
You did
You
it,
did
but,
that,
there
good.
was no injuries, year to date. And the labor was, 2289, current month versus last year, current month, 2562, so we're down 300 hours. We have a AAA rating.
Excellent.
That's the big report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, anyone? Mr. Cameron? I'm not gonna try to forget you. Okay.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Work in the maintenance area during the month include the following, some of this is routine. But anyways, we'll go through it. Conduct the monthly drums inspection as per GMP requirements. Of the 3 ship loaders. Replace the sheaves and belts of dustpan number 1. Replace gearbox of the RBS drive. Empty bin maintenance of annex bin 1. Concentrator bearing at basement concentrator 304. Replace 1 broken tie rod in scale 6. Before scale inspection test last week. Replace gearbox and motor of number 8 receiving conveyor capital project. Begin annual lubrication of all conveyor rollers and concentrators. Continue conveyor aerator inspection and repairs. We've got 22 aerators complete. We've got 3 left to do. Some items for work order log as well as weekly and monthly dust system inspections. Working with mill rates as required. GMP maintenance of rail. Troubleshoot repair ship loader number 1. Winch rectifier had failed. This does seem like it may be consumable. It's not an expensive item to have. We've got some spares in stock now. Lawn tractor and weed trimmers for the season. Install several temporary power stations for some motive for the concrete repair. Disconnect electrical feed to the truck loading and the truck shed. This is in preparation for the truck shed upgrades. Replace the dust truck loading auger. Continue replacing proxy and conduit support.
Jeff, just with respect to repairing ship loader number 1.
Yep.
Those are relatively new, so
Yeah.
this was kind of a surprise to have this become potentially
This is the
consumable.
second time we burned out a rectifier. It's literally a $200 part. It's electronic. They just fail.
Manufacturer have any comment about,
Not really.
and we've got no,
Neither does New Arrow.
okay, we've got no way of going back to the manufacturer now. Okay, thanks.
But we do have them on board, like on stock. Excellent. Was that your question, Mr. Ward?
I was gonna say, hopefully we have lots of spares, so yeah, that's good.
Mr. Smell?
Yeah, I just have one question. When you do your weekly and monthly inspections of the dust, how often do they break down? What causes?
No, that's routine maintenance, so it doesn't break.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? We're gonna move on to the capital projects. Yes. Okay.
Paving project was an action item, this evening, so the tender is closed. We'll discuss on that later in the meeting. The concrete repair is underway. The contract's been on site for 3 weeks now, so we're doing that work. The repair in the Superior, again, we're just waiting on the building design, see whether that's good, so we can find a path in this building. The green elevators have been covering it's in the tender process now. To do a continually spout, there's an action item this evening for your consideration. We'll speak more about that later. Covered storage on the waterfront, that is all depending on future business plan. Marina waterfront, waterfront work is complete. There's a walkway designed and there's a getting quotes on that. Their repair is complete. We're just waiting on the final invoice for that. Track shed repairs, that track shed, the improvement project, the excavation is complete. I'll start driving piles tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So right now we're on schedule where we should be. DJ land development, topographic survey is complete and appeals issued for the drainage plan. New dryer project, the 2 wet bins are built, installed, and waiting for a crane to come in to lift them up, put the legs underneath them, and then the foundations for the new dry bin have been poured. They just have to backfill and pour the slab for that. So that work is progressing well on schedule. Bottle livers on the trippers, it's a pending project. I get started. Hydraulic cylinders for the scale test. The parts are here, and actually, since this meeting, they've been used in the most recent scale test when the brain commission was in. So those are in use.
That is complete, we got enforcement. The weed, environmental safe weed control, they're waiting for an additional quote before we move forward. Dust system, the phase that has started. New traps in the basement, dust pipes. Replacement for the scale gates, parts are on order, just waiting for those to arrive. Next spout diverter to the from the annex to the house conveyor, that is the parts that the PO been issued to Horse. On that, waiting for them, not they'll tie that work in with the construction work and the bins. Have a crane. That'll happen in conjunction with that project. New motor, reducer and motor for receiving that has been installed. So it's basically complete now. We have a new belt for the marine lofter number 2. The belt is here. Waiting for a window to be completely installed. Placement of aerators, again, they're going through the checks, the annual checks on aerators to see where the ones that we work on first. We also have a belt here for lofter 7. That one's partially in hold right now due to the excavation work in the receiving area. We're using that that lofter to bring back and forth in the annex to load another truck. New buckets for lofters 2 and 7. When you can change the belt, you should change the buckets. Those buckets are on site now, waiting for install. Reducer and motor for the dryer unloading turntable. Again, it's a maintenance item. The parts are here, but they're not yet installed. Again, that's no, as we get other work completed in the building. Replace the probe at the grading station. That's been ordered on the 2nd of May. For that come in. Rear repair on hold for the moment. Let's replace some ties and switches on the track. Snow push for the telehandler, we haven't gotten at that because we're not looking to bring on any elements of the white materials. We still get into some steady summer weather. Upgrade the existing garage, I'm waiting on quotes for that, and again, I'm getting 3 new quotes for the overall. So we have the tender close today for the re-engineered building. We had planned to close a week ago, but nobody had enough time, so we extended 1 week, which meant we didn't have the action prepared for it. We made arrangements to attend the council meeting next Monday. With that action item, the low bid on that was $776,000. The council was $750,000. That was the low bid, and the high bid was for 1.19. We have 3 quotes overall. We have 4 companies look at it, and we have 3 bids submitted. So we come forth to the council meeting next Monday.
What was the price?
767,627.
Oh, 767. Okay.
767,620. And that is the top report summary.
Any questions, comments, people? No. Mr. Cameron?
No, I'm 1 out of 28 knocked off the list already and lots more ahead of us, right, guys?
Any other questions around the table? I just have, yeah, we've got lots of parts in there and we just waiting to get stored, you know, in some of our projects. Now, do we have the new belt for the low for 7? Where you, and it says parts ordered, but it's in, we're just
Oh, I'm
not.
sorry, that one hasn't arrived. It's a little different thickness than the way the ones get right.
Oh, okay, so the parts aren't in, the rest are, we got lots of.
Parts are here, we're waiting on the bill.
Yeah, okay. Good. Good, lots of work coming on next month. It'll look a lot better, I'm sure, once you guys get some time in. And we're right on schedule for our dryer.
Yeah.
Good.
Dryer should be erected towards the end of June, first of July. We really anticipated that probably firing out late September. Probably on soybeans, just to get the buttons and the kinks out and make sure all the controls are working in those as planned, and they'll be ready for pulling. So,
Good. And the wet bends are there, just gotta get them up there.
just gotta get them on their legs. They've got to put the bottom cones on.
Yeah, see that what's in there. Good, thanks very much. Capital project, the financial report, who's gonna take care of that?
I don't know. Our revenue for April was 461,000. It is lower than 2023 by 26,000. Again, variance continues to be due to the corn receiving project and the steel rail project in 2023. Expenses were slightly higher than budget by 8,000 and 2023 by 24. Some of that is mainly due to the timing of projects and invoicing, that sort of thing. Our year-to-date, our revenues, our harbor services are down 272,000, grain services are down 331,000, rail services are down 85,000, and our leases are up 15,000. Our expenses, our labor and benefits are up 30,000. Now, April was a free pay period month, so benefits are a bit higher on that end, so it's the majority of the what increases it. Our utilities are down 69,000. Operating and admin is down 81,000. Advertising's down 57,000 due to the Octarium payment in 23. Office admin is down 11,000. Material and supplies is up 3,000. Outside services is down 29,000. Rentals down 3,000. Insurance is up 14,000, and honorariums up 2,000. As of the end of April, we have transferred the annual payment. We're at 333,333 now, towards $7 million. Our accounts receivable, our receivables are still at 30 days and under. Our receivables are at 761,313. Payables are 719,606, and our cash on hand is 8,379,877.
Questions, comments? Mr. Cameron?
No, I just, thanks for highlighting. I was looking at the, labor being higher, and us having less hours, you guys understand that, so the extra pay rate makes sense, so, thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Good, anything else on the table? Easy one. Vessel traffic report. Penny.
Great, thank you very much. So for the year to date, we're at 73,102 compared to 180,000 last year. As we look at our salt, we can see quite a difference there. Of course, what we expected in grain didn't materialize due to the prices that Mr. Moulton spoke to. And that was a little disappointing for us. So we've taken that on the chin in revenue and see the numbers there. So ships at berth, 4 so far versus 11. We're going to have a good May in respect to vessels. As the presentation, as Logistec was mentioning, we've got our wind blades coming in. We've got our steel coming in. So it's going to be quite busy actually in between the blades and the salt ship coming and steel coming. We try to keep those two separated, but we're running out of a logistical challenge when you've got salt plus project cargoes coming in. There's still salt remaining from the year before, so well, that's basically the traffic report.
Any questions, comments? Traffic report. Just one. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
So Jim, with regard to the salt, there's a lot of salt. The north side appears to be somewhat full. And then the south side starting to fill up as well. Are we running out of room?
Not yet, but we've only have so much capacity, so you know, at some point, what I've said at the end of the year, if they need to put some on the east side of the barriers, we don't usually, we had to do it last year, but we may put some there at the end of the year, but we're not doing it before then because we need that dock for our other cargoes. Because what happens is on the west side, of the dock, on the riverfront dock I'm speaking to. Winter salt's already using up their area, where we use that as a common user pad. So for the other salt, right, until usually that doesn't fill up till the end of the year. So by using our common user for all the salt users, I try to keep on the west side. Now we're gonna have to use the east side to bring in that salt until it's transferred. So it just means we're competing commodities on the side of our dock, which is challenging, of course.
Now, when you say the east side, is that the dock that isn't very good?
No, that's our harborfront dock. We're on the riverfront dock.
Yeah.
And there's those cement barriers that go down the middle of it.
Yeah.
So by
Okay.
that side.
Okay, that's all. Good. Any other questions? Comments? Mr. Cameron? Okay. Health and safety, F.
I'll take that one.
Sure.
If anyone has any questions, John had a relatively quiet month. He was just finalizing the training for the safety committee to make sure they understand all procedures and requirements. And he finished the working from heights update.
That is a short one.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, he's coming to the end of a lot of his updates. So
You knew we had a busy meeting tonight. So it's very late.
I gotta see him next week, though. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Mr. Cameron? Anybody else? We'll move on then. GM report, 10G.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Salt management update. We're getting quotes on the flow meter and pond profiling that we want to get done. No further communications from the ministry. Sport of Johnstown, we're participating in the Business Views Summer Edition featuring our own mayor, Mr. Corey Deschamps. So we're splitting a full page advertisement with the United Counties, and there's approached the sport. We thought that wouldn't be a bad idea. She's taking the lead on the advertising. Confirming that the port will be receiving free luminal blade. We talked about that, and storage as well for the returning blade. We met with the Intercon rep and look at the port, what we would have to do specifically. We have to put the ramp back up. Everything we did for the major project, we have to do for the smaller. So that went smoothly. On May 8th, we Eastern Canada conducted a marine spill training exercise support. It went really well. There were port facilities. People participate both online and in person. I met with the Canada official to discuss responsibility bills and other questions around storage tanks, etc. So it was informative. I got a few contacts with the environmental side of Transport Canada and so on. So it was informative. I did not take part in the exercise, but my office was right there. So every once in a while I'd have to come out and talk to them about our health and safety, different things like that. So
Yeah,
it was quite interesting. They actually put a boom across the slip and so on. And I met with representatives from grain company discuss exporting grain in containers. We continue these discussions and developing pricing. This is tied in the capital project being presented. I believe it's this evening. Office manager and Port GM held conference call with MNP auditors to go over financial statements. It was an interesting couple hours conversation and understanding of our statements. And met with the engineering firm to discuss drainage plan for port lands. And met with Dillon Consulting firm to discuss their services and potential future projects at the port. So they just happened to kind of be in the area, they're from New Brunswick, and so asked if I could meet with them and so on, just to go over some of the projects that are going on and so on. So it was interesting. And that's it for the report. If there's any questions.
Questions, comments? I thought that was pretty good too with the spill. I was in there talking to you and Kevin. Geez, they had everything right. ABC, well organized.
It's quite something.
Yeah.
It's their central control that they set up, so
Yeah.
radios, everything was there. It was
Yeah.
Quite
It's,
impressive.
Yeah,
They look
sure
after
was.
all the way across Canada, sort of things.
Right.
Good contact to have. It is the responsibility of the ships, just so everyone knows.
And you said every
Any
ship,
spills, anything happens, it's the vessel's responsibilities, not the port's. We do not have to have containment bins or anything like that on site for that sort of thing, just to, so we understand that. As a matter of fact, we had something, I know Jeff, I talked to him a few years ago, we bought something, just like, I wanna have something that's go across the slip, but, you know, after discussions, it probably wouldn't do it wouldn't do a lot. I thought that was the gavel for a second.
Yeah, we're done.
It really wouldn't do a lot for us, and if anything, you might get in the way, so you need to be careful when it's somebody else's responsibility to try and get involved, even so if it's with the best intent.
well done. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Smell, go ahead.
Through the chair to, Robert, the windmills that come, do we only deal with one company? Because I've seen them coming up the river yesterday.
We'll wait and see.
Okay, good, thanks.
We know that we can handle it, that's for sure, we proved that.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, look, I need a mover and a seconder for document information on 10A to H. Green operation report, maintenance report, capital projects, financial report, special traffic report, health and safety report, GM report, and the 2023 audit financial statement. No, separate again? Okay. G, need a mover? Moved by Mr. Ward, seconded by Mr. Smell. Get that. All in favor?
Not sure that was about, to be honest.
Silent buttons on the side.
Get the milk.
We get all right, Chris.
There we go.
10H, did I bring that up now? Separate? So the 2023 audit financial statement, I need a mover and a seconder. I know you're busy with your phone, so Mr. Smell. And Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
all in favor? Carried. Okay, we're on new 10I, the track and road. Who's gonna speak on that tonight?
Okay, that's Stuart, I'm sorry. The action item on the paving. Okay.
Put it down, Scott. Page 41 of 72.
That's. We need.
No, that's okay.
This auction item is for the track and asphalt paving. Honestly, this probably, we ran this at 2 tenders. I was taking care of the track and Kevin took care of the asphalt, which was kind of tied to some of his other work. But because it was approved as one line item, we tried to keep it as one line item, so. Bear with me, let's go through this. So we called the track and road rehabilitation, that main road going into the building. Area 1. The background on area 1 is the main entrance of the dock has 4 cross railings. One was repaired in 2023 due to rail damage that handled high traffic of loaded cargo. The crossings were upgraded 9 years ago when the road was widened. Due to the excessive tracking of loaded cargo and freeze-thaw winters, the rails now have flex movement, thus causing the asphalt to break. As the frost came in this year, it was evident this getting much worse. Area 2, the area east of the track shed is in disrepair and requires repaving due to the high traffic of loaded trailers. you see in the pictures, are being widened due to the 2020 projects, grain dryer receiving area, and will provide safer truck flow and accessibility for the annex and loading track shed. So you can see the areas in the pictures, of course, 3 rails. The large area in front of the track shed, the picture doesn't really do it the injustice that it is. It is in very bad shape. The annex road, we really didn't realize that once the drive-in came in, that 5,000 ton bin really cut a big chunk out of that road, so the road needs to be widened so the traffic can safely flow around it. And the same at the other end of the west side of the this work really does need to be done. The scope of the work, area 1, rehabilitate 3 crossings and asphalt and make sure that's described in tender. Track and road rehabilitation 322-001. Area 2, scope of work is resurface area east of the track shed, improve roads and annex and loading road as described in tender paving 320-020. The policy implications, as the amount is higher than budget, the award must be approved by the township council. Financial consideration, the budget for this project was $300,000 for the companies that bid on the project. So when we ran one tender, area 1, we had 7 companies came in, and we actually only had 1 company bid on it. Jones Rail. Area 2, Kevin held that tender. He had 5 companies come in, and they all bid, and the bidding was very close. The recommendation is that the Port Management Committee recommends to the council award this work to Jones Rail, $147,163.74, and G Tackleberry in the amount of $228,717.50, for a total amount of $375,981.24, excluding HST, with a contingency of 10%. That the Port Management Committee recommend that the council approve the mayor and the port general manager to sign the contract on behalf of the township. And that's our recommendation for that work.
Any questions on the area 1 and area 2? Track and road rehab and asphalt paving? Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Ward.
Oh, sure, okay. So I mean, it's a little higher budget, but we sort of talked to it. We know there's always a paving every year sort of thing, and I suspect probably that where the difference might be, and that maybe Kevin can comment on it. But I think because we're probably taking that grass out around that area where the grain dryer is going in, that's probably going to put a lot of cost in it. It's a paving maybe for that project.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that's fine. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a little bit of noise, and it's probably not necessarily do we need to reallocate it, but it's probably part of the contingency on the grain dryer project. So that's good. That's all.
The rail portions, like the 149, the Jones. Yeah, and that's for the 3 rails.
Correct.
And that's to fix the rail plus the little pavement that's around the.
They'll tear that right out.
Take that right out. Any consideration, I know we did with Ingredion for the, I don't know if it's still, what's it called there? I can't think of it. Drawing a blank for the street.
I know what you're talking about.
But we did it in concrete.
Yeah.
Cause it was the, in a lot of rebar, and it would be an absolute pain in the butt to take it if it ever got to come out. But
That we did consider that.
Right.
That was really what we had considered. And when we had all of the rail companies come in, they thought, oh, you're committed when you do that. If you- like if you do bus to rail like we did last year, a truck with the rail and broke it, he says that it all has to come back in. Else we thought, well, it's.
okay.
It was, I mean,
So we're
certainly what we considered, but really after we, the recommendation was that we did not do that.
so basically every 10 years, we just replace what's there. Yeah. Is what it is. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, yes, Mr. Snow, go ahead.
Just one question, to the chair, to Mike. Will you double lift that? Will you For the heavy weighted tractor trailers and all that?
I'm sorry.
Is it gonna be double lift instead of just
Yeah,
one single lift?
Yeah.
As well as along the railroad tracks and stuff?
Mr. Cameron?
No, it seems like it's necessary work, so I'm certainly in favor of it.
Anybody else at the table? Oh, I had the same concern with the mayor. I thought maybe Smith, because that's what we did, and it said,
Yeah, that one's working good.
yeah, it's working good, but I mean, what if something ever happens?
That was Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the expert and really, you know.
No,
they-
and
they say
how
they're like-
long ago was that done?
9 years.
9 years, so 10 years, okay. 150, so 15,000.
Lot of trucks going over there.
Oh, yeah, a lot of traffic,
The salt
15 years,
all
15
goes
years.
over those tracks.
yeah, yeah. So we do have a motion, people. In front of it, the recommendation that the Port Management Committee recommends the council award the work to Jones's Rail in the amount of $147,263.74. And G Tackaberry in the amount of $228,717.50 for a total of amount of $375,000. Now, the committee recommends the council approve the mayor and the port general manager to sign the contract. Mr. Smell. Any questions, comments on it before? Here. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now we're on to J. The container loading spout project, 300-221. Who's gonna speak on this one?
I'll speak to this one.
Okay,
So this was, part of the business plan for the overall receiving area upgrades, last month. Because we've got the foundation in, we go ahead and, get the containers put on order. Robert mentioned the company that was, wants to load containers, visited the port, a couple weeks ago. First thing they expressed a little disappointment that it worked for their law. We've been talking about it for about 18 months, but then they did see the whole, the excavation where the foundation was going, so now they got a sense that we are moving forward and going to complete the project, so. I think the discussions were very good. The actually, there's an increasing amount of grain that leaves the country in sea containers, and basically that's for cost. It allows, rather than having a broker in one country that has to buy a 20 or 30,000 ton ship, and then disperse from there, this allows people to buy directly, to get a little better price, get a little better control of the quality of the grain from the sea. So that's why containers are becoming more popular. The chart in the action item kind of shows you what's leaving in terms of grain from Canada. You can notice in 2021 and 21-22 that it started to decline a little bit. That was basically according to the logistics folks, shortage of containers after COVID. COVID, everything stopped, nothing moved, and then everything started moving at once, and there wasn't that regular flow of containers back and forth. So they end up in a bit of a shortfall, and that's really what, and out west in 21-22, the grain crop wasn't as good as it was previous year, so that also brought down the total quantity of containers. So the reason why we, again, discussed last month, why did we report proposing this now? It's because we've been approached by a company that wants to load containers. They haven't given us a letter of intent, which is past the action item, but they want to do 1,000 tons a month per cart, which would be 50 containers. We asked what's the upside for you, and what is the maximum number? What is your maximum? So they're about a 3 to 4 month sales cycle for them as well. So they want to know what is your upside. Could you do 2,000 tons a month? That's something that's within the realm. They have been actually going around to local producers now trying to buy grain for this fall to get prepared for the container loading business. So we're just spread around that we have the ability, we'll have the ability to load containers, and we've had 2 other inquiries on the availability of.
From another competition?
From another customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, from two other customers, so there seems to be something I think that would gain a lot of traction.
What's it something about?
Also up and going. But we start with, we have 50 containers a month, which is nice, especially through the months of, January through April. Things are tending to get quieter for it. So there'll be a little activity going out. Different varieties of what they want, they'll ship direct, the number 2 direct that we get off farm. They also want something clean, so they get the splits and the dockage, down to commercially clean, which would mean more work for cleaners, which is another care from group. All in all, it's about 7-month payback for the spout. So with the approach involved is, is stretching the spout and having it installed. We did follow the procurement policy, but we are submitting it to sole source. The spout is a patent design, or system owns the patent, they bought it from Solomon. I think I'm drinking, we invented it. So there is only one source for it. If they own the patent, so. The budget approved in 2024 was $300,000, and the spout is $216,000. We are asking for a little higher contingency on this one. Because with the, again, with the new building, we're going to tie the support beams for the spout into the structure. And engineer the structure so that the piles going directly underneath the legs of the beams for the building. We'll tie that across the load of which 6,000 pounds with loaded with grain. Split them up to 4 pillars. They are 1,500 tons per pillar, so it's super good. It's well within the ground of the building. We'll get that from the engineer, but we're not overloading the capacity. And it keeps. There was a support structure that came with that. When we get rid of the support structure, so we get things trip hazards and things that would be home. By getting elevated. Structure itself. So our recommendation is the Port Management Committee recommends the award for the spout. The award system for the amount of $215,952 plus a 25% contingency. That's to cover the steel beams. It's also to cover some of the control wiring we'll have to put in there and tie it into existing automation for the scale top work. So we have interlock in it so we don't drop grain in the spout not ready. So that's minor. But just some of the details we take care of. And the Port Management Committee authorizes the Port Town Manager to sign a purchase order on behalf of the town.
Question, go ahead, is there a question?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, yeah, like, first of all, good job on explaining the market, the opportunity. Why the single source and the ROI, and I think that was, that we talked about this as well for 18 months, I think, as well, so I can understand it because of the potential customer frustration there. What's the capacity? Like, I know we talked about 50. Do we know roughly what the capacity of the weapons basis, based on our current staffing levels, obviously, and things like that, right?
We should be able to load 10 per day fairly easily, I think. I think that could stretch to 14. I do it in 2s because that's the way they come in and train. Right. So I think 2 is fairly comfortable, depending on how they want it. If they want it all clean, that may slow down a little bit, while we wait for the cleaner to catch up, because we won't store a lot of that grain ahead. About that, to make sure it's going in fresh.
So we can tell you that, and we can do up to 300 from one year. Okay, so that's good. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna try to hit, Mr. Cameron, I'll forget him. Mr. Cameron, questions?
No, I have no questions. I think it's a good addition to our port and I support it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, no, I certainly echo this one. This one's exciting. I think this is a diversification we all like, and I think it's a fantastic way to build and move forward. So I'm looking forward to once we get done. It's a great one.
So, any other? Right?
Only if Meraki Commodities ever wants to take anybody from the port for lunch. My house is about a 5-minute walk from their office, so I'm just volunteering.
Mr. Stitt? Did you? I just, how many tons was like, per train? What are we looking at? Like
Per container would be 20.5 metric ton.
20?
Yeah, so you're talking
21. Yeah, so 21 a train. So that does help people instead of buying 24,000 metric ton of a boulder, 28,000 metric ton. It can, that's a big selling point, I think.
Certainly opens up the market to a lot
Yeah.
more customers.
Sure does. Really, smaller, especially the smaller companies. Good. Yeah, well done, guys. Oh, I guess we got. You will? Okay. Recommendation for committee recommends award this project 300-221 to the Hearst system. In the amount of $215,952 with a contingency of 25%. And the Port Management Committee authorized Port General Manager to sign the purchase order on behalf of the township. Moved by Mr. Ward, seconded by Mr. Mayor. All in favor? Any questions, comments? Good, carried. We are on number 11. And that is approval of the disbursements. Any comments on them?
Yeah, we have 64. Sorry, we'll wait for the, we'd like to open up by saying one comment, there's a small error on the bottom.
On the disbursements?
Yeah, just on the second direct withdrawals,
What page are you on?
page 55,
55.
the Pitney Bowes invoice was from the previous month, so it should be removed.
The 11068
110.68, yeah.
should be removed?
Yeah, so that total comes to, for direct withdrawals, is 120,411.74.
Yeah.
So the total of the batch listings and the direct withdrawals should be 868,289.38.
Okay, so that's only 110, right?
But the good news is that our checking system worked.
Oh, is that what caught it? Is that, yeah? Oh, good, great. Yeah. So, yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I just have one question.
Sure.
And it comes down to, it's called page 2, it's page, I think 62 of 72.
62 of 72, okay? What's your entry number?
Well, it's the first one, so the receiver General of Canada, is that the right? So the CGC license renewal inspection of Selena vessel billed back to broker. So can you explain, I get that it's billed back to broker, but can you explain that to me so that I understand exactly what it was?
The Canadian Grain Commission has to come in and inspect any vessels that are going overseas, so they do a weighing and an inspection. Because we're the ones who have to order them to come in, Canadian Grain Commission has to bill us, and then we in turn bill that amount back to the broker who loaded the grain.
Okay, cool. I sort of half understood it, but I just wanted to make sure it was right. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Cameron? Awful quiet tonight.
Yeah, no, not really. The only question I have is why was natural gas so high this past month, folks? Seems like it's kind of an anomaly at Enbridge, 11,000. Any ideas, thoughts?
Probably not.
I think partial was, they did a rate adjustment, and it was due to the carbon tax coming in on April 1st. Our actual natural gas wasn't normally higher for the month. It was the rate adjustments they did on our bill.
I think it was over $3,000.
Yeah.
Oh, over 2K, okay. Thank you.
I need a mover for the approval of the disbursements. Moved by Mr. Ward. Second by Mr. Smell. All in favor? Number 12, council inquiries and notice of motions. Any? Nothing? Chair's report, all I have to say is short and sweet. Thank you, Mr. Daly and Rhonda for that. I know it wasn't the greatest what you went through with the audit. I know Robert called me Friday and a little frustrated with Tom and so on. Get it, so thank you so much for your job. Well done. Appreciate all the hard work you've done for us. We sure do appreciate that. That being said, question period, Stephen, you're a great man, perfect. Number 15. Need a move and a second to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Ward, second by Mr. Mountain, adjourns at 9:11.